Hey, my friend, welcome to After the Coffee. It is Wednesday. That means it is hump day, and we're almost halfway through our week. And on Monday Morning Cup of Joe, I shared with you that over the next several weeks, I'll be sharing The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R Covey, a mentor of mine. And if you've never read the book, I highly recommend that you go out and get a copy. If you have read the book, then consider this a good refresher, something to remind you of, oh yeah, that's an important habit. And we're going to talk about probably the most important habit today. That's habit 1, be proactive. You have to remember that your life is the product of your values, not your feelings, and of your decisions and not your conditions. Now, we have all kinds of things going on post-COVID, social media, new technology, AI, all these things are going on. And we have to hold close to our values during these times because it is easy to get caught up in our feelings of not being in control, which can lead to depression, which doesn't lead to positive things happening. So in this new year, we're going to have to really embrace the concept of optimism and look for the opportunities. Even failures provide us opportunities to learn. Now, in this habit, be proactive. The opposite is to be reactive, meaning we're living out of our feelings and our emotions. We're allowing our moods to take over and not be focused in on what we want to create. You see, these feelings, emotions, moods, impulses, and other people's treatment of us can be great distractions from us focusing in on what matters most to us, right? Our purpose, as Simon Sinek would say, our why. We have to maintain focus on that. So I highly recommend, if you haven't identified your purpose yet, that you seek it out. It's inside of you. It's those things that you enjoy and embrace and believe in. And if you have established your purpose, then post it. Post it where you can see it on a regular basis. Be constantly reminded, because there are so many distractions between our cell phones and email and voicemail and social media. There are so many things that can move us off course. And that's why it's so important for us to have a single focus in terms of our purpose, and then a plan to identify what actions we can take to move us closer to alignment with that purpose of ours, right? And action gives us a sense of control, even if the action is not even efficient. Any action you take gives you that sense of control, and that sense of control can keep you from being the slave to your emotions, your moods, and put you in the direction of clear, affirming realities, right? We make our luck. The harder we work, the luckier we get. Now, the underlying principle of habit 1, be proactive, is to take responsibility. If it is to be, it is up to me. Make things happen. Create a list of steps that you can take, even if they're small steps, right? In the 7 Habits, Stephen Covey talks about the circle of influence and the circle of concern. Now, we have concerns, but we may not have any actionable ability to affect that. So we need to focus in on our circle of influence and control those things that we can control, right? Like our immediate relationships with our spouse or our family, our children, our loved ones, our friends, our colleagues. This is a circle of influence that we have control over. You can be concerned about that circle of concern, but acknowledge the fact that there's not a whole lot you can do out there, that the focus needs to be in the center of that circle. Now, proactivity means that you have the power to choose. You have the power to choose your response in any given situation. That's a sense of control. You can choose not to go down the negative path and to choose the higher road, right? The road less traveled. That's important to remember in this habit, is that you have control over what you do, over what you say, over whom you're with. Choose wisely. If you believe that you have no control over your choices, you will become a victim of your internal reality. The voices in your head, the thoughts that you have that are negative, will own you. So it's important that when we get that negative thought in our head, we say, that's not mine. I don't own that. And you throw it out and you focus in on what is possible. You are more than your external circumstances. As a matter of fact, you are not your external circumstances. If you focus in on what you have control of and what you want to make happen, you may have to start at the micro level and move out toward the macro level by getting others enrolled in the cause that is your purpose. When you choose to be a victim, you'll become disempowered. You'll be struck by the past and spend a little time thinking about your future. And this is where this habit is so important, because it has a future focus. When you think about, being a victim and the things that aren't working for you, and you start going down that drain, you need to remember that in that state, your only future focus is a reflection of the past into the future. Our brain works this way. It's like, oh, well, that happened before, so the likelihood of it happening again is high. But the opportunity to choose can change that. You can choose a different path, a different way to go. It may take some problem solving on your part. Critical thinking is very important in habit one. We have to be clear first on what's our goal, what's our purpose, what do we want to create out in the world? And then start listing the things that we can do to make that happen. We start in our circle of influence, and that begins to grow, right? It's important to know that procrastination is a behavior of choice. You'll find that you put first things second, third, or fourth, and not first things first. It's so important to understand that procrastination being a behavior of choice, now you can see that you can choose something else, action of some kind. It can even be a small action. It doesn't matter, as long as you're moving in the direction that serves your purpose. That's super important when it comes to habit one, be proactive. When your compass is pointing in the wrong direction, you'll begin to think win-lose or lose-win approaches to your relationships, which could end up alienating or ruining the most important relationships in your life. So in that dynamic, you'll always seek to be understood first rather than to understand. That's not going to work for your relationships either. It's important for us to listen to others before we speak, so that we can understand where they're at and what they need. In this case of the downward spiral, you'll seek compromise instead of synergy, creating an energy with other people that motivates and inspires them to do their best. And of course, in this case of that downward swirl, you'll never take the time to sharpen the saw. And as Stephen Covey would say, you ever get too busy driving to stop and get gas? We have to continually improve ourselves if we want to become better at who we are and what we do. Continuous self-improvement is the most important investment you can possibly make in any type of venture, whether it's personal and family or it's entrepreneurial and business. So in the downward spiral, this place does not allow you to sharpen the saw because your state of reactivity will not allow for that. You'll find yourself in the thick of thin things. You'll be pursuing the minute details of things instead of looking at what we refer to out of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People book, the big rocks. Focus on the most important things. Now, they may be difficult, challenging, unsurmountable, perhaps in your mind, but the truth is that when you focus in on these things, you often find they're not as difficult, not as hard as you once thought. The big rocks are those things that matter most to you. The cell phone ringing, the text messages, the Instagrams, the Facebook pages, all these things, they're not the important element in your life. They're a distraction. And I think that we are barraged with distractions, and that's what keeps us from being able to tap into the greatness that is you. Don't get mired in the trivial many. Spend your time serving and pursuing the vital few. And remember, proactivity is having the capacity and the desire to subordinate your impulses, your moods, your feelings, your emotions, your conditions, your circumstances for a value based on principles, on those elements that support your why, that support your purpose, that support the trajectory of your life the way you want to live it. Don't succumb to these distractions. Don't buy into what they have to say. Focus on what you know to be true for you. And that's habit 1. Be proactive. The results of proactivity are to make and keep promises to yourself and to those around you. Those people who are most important to you. If you choose to make a commitment, a promise, then you must follow through. That is a primary structure, construct of our character. And remember the golden rule. Treat others the way you would want to be treated. Treat people with respect. If we're going to grow that circle of influence, it will be through our ability to communicate and respect others and treat them well and support them, even when we may not see eye to eye, which can be difficult. But we have to accept people for who they are, meet them where they're at, and elevate them if we can. These are the practices that enable you to practice the other 6 habits. That's why habit 1, be proactive, is foundational. Until you master this, you cannot begin to master the others. So it's so important. Now, between now and Monday Morning Cup of Joe, what I would like for you to do is to spend some time writing out your purpose, identifying your why and why it's important. Be clear on that, because as we go through this series of the 7 habits, I want you to be able to grow your purpose, your why, in a direction that will take you through all of next year. That's the goal. So, my friend, we are getting close to the weekend. I hope you find some time to rest and relax, spend time with those with whom you love and care about. And then I will see you on Monday for the next episode of Monday Morning Cup of Joe. And in the meantime, as always, lead well, my friend.